Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer earlier in the day, as we always do when we're chatting to people across the pond in the old world. And we've got a very special guest we're bringing across today. We're very excited to have him on the show. First, the person I'm less excited about, it's my constant companion. It's Tom. How you doing?
Hey, everybody.
Also joining us today is the one, the only, you know him, you love him, it's Mel the Terrain Tutor. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, mate. Very well indeed. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We are very glad to have you on because, as viewers of this show know, I have a fear of terrain, okay? Longtime viewers will know I've mentioned it many times. I find like buying terrain usually too expensive, and I find making terrain too scary and hard. So this is a big moment for me because I am hoping that at the end of this call, at the end of this show, you not only help me, but of any of our other viewers who are in the same place, because I don't think I'm alone.
No,
Oh, dear Lord, I hope not.
Go ahead, Mel.
To be truthful, it's a common thing, mate, but we'll get you through it. We'll have to consider this a terrain therapy session, and deal with your terrain angst.
I'm excited. I need it. I need to lie down on a couch and just kind of work my way through my issues, and I'm sure we'll get to that. There's no doubt. So we're going to do some deep dive on everything terrain related. As usual, we've got the Q&A open. So if you've got questions for Mel, I know some people left questions in the thread before the show. We'll be looking at those. Other than that, we're going to do we got a deep dive. We got a nice series of questions that Mel has seen, and I'm excited to see what his answers are. So, Tom, you want to kick us off with some news?
Yeah. Do you have any images by chance? Anything?
I'm going to. Not at the moment. I was bringing them up actually right now. Go ahead.
So we'll start with the big news this week. Some of the orc images leaked. Some of the new orcs from 40K, the new Iron Jaws.
Are you being funny right now? Is that your funny joke time?
No. I mean, there's just nothing funny about them. But I'm not gonna. I don't want to bag on them. Yeah. Iron Jaws, I don't know. Mel, have you seen the new orcs? Let me ask you that.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't.
Okay, don't worry about it. You're not missing too much. Hey, Vince, can you pull this up for me?
I think you are out of your mind. I'll tell you what. At first, I wasn't too sure about this, but I'm going to say this. I like them. There you go. I wasn't a super fan of the Star Drake stuff, but I like this. Let's take a look. All right, so here's our orcs. First of all, here's our artsy fartsy picture. Got to have that, right? Okay. So we can see this is what our Maw Crush is going to look like, and we've got a big orc surfing on him. He's got armor and stuff like that. And then here's the other guys. I like to see Chorus Cole getting the what for. That's nice. Take that, Chaos. And then we've got here the Green Horde. So this is a nice. It's kind of a. Let's see if we can zoom in a little.
I would say we can't see that.
There we go. All right, is that better? It's fuzzy, I know, but hopefully you can see it a little bit. Here's our two Maw Crushers, right? They're very round, and their wings are down. Did you see the new Mega Boar Riders or something up here? They're weird Boar Rider heads. And then here's the regular orcs down here. Lots of Iron Jaw orcs.
And
right?
Great yellow power armor.
You're so out of your mind.
Does that remind you of what you call it? The old, was it 3rd edition 40K orcs? When orcs went through that really red and yellow phase.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'll say. It does remind me. It does remind me of the old orcs. Because if you look at old 40K, so here's the Mega Boss, which we actually have a pretty decent image of.
Mega Boss. That's the actual name on the war scroll. I want to point that out.
Yes. There you go. So there's a pretty decent image of him.
Yep.
He reminds me more of like you said, the old 3rd edition orcs, right? Where 3rd edition orcs were basically 40K orcs, were basically just fantasy orcs that occasionally had a gun, right? If you remember those guys, their armor was very rudimentary. They would just have pistols and axes and stuff, right?
Yeah, 2D design, wasn't it? They had to design them on a flat plate.
Yeah.
The press technology, which is why they always had that hold the axe up and point the gun forward sort of stance. And
Yep,
you also
exactly.
glue the gun arm on.
Yep, you got it exactly. And here's what I'll say, Tom. I as soon as I saw these, I knew Tom was going to be like, mer, mer, mer. I knew I was going to hear it.
And I am. I'm like, meh, meh, meh.
Yeah.
Well,
He
here's the
looks
good
fine.
news, people. Here's the good news, people. You can go get a bunch of orc heads and put them on Stormcast bodies, and you're good.
I don't think that's true at all. This guy's got bones all over him, all this kind of stuff. His armor looks rougher, lots of different things. He's in heavier plate armor. He's a heavy plate orc. I don't understand.
Vince, what size base is that?
The mega boss? I don't know, probably 40 or 50. It's pretty big.
I'm calling 50 mil. That is a huge base.
Yeah, good. Big orcs. That means he's big. I like big orcs. Orcs get big. Why are we down on big orcs?
Because I can tell you, if I set one of my current black orcs next to him, it's just not going to look right.
Well, here's what I can tell you. That doesn't matter, okay? Because of every race ever, orcs are the one where scale creep doesn't matter. Because orcs always get bigger the longer they live, and the meaner and tougher they get. That's a thing. So there is no scale with orcs.
I know, but I don't know. Like these are iron jaws, and so it just looks. I think it's going to look very disjunctive from what's currently there. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
I think it will look like a totally new force. Yes, I agree. I don't disagree with that. These guys are heavier armored than anything we've seen before, but they've also got this nice mix. Like his shoulder pad with that giant, maw crusher head strapped to it.
Yeah.
I love that. Like he's still got primal stuff. This giant oversized axe. Like I love everything about this guy. The more I'll admit, it took me a little while to warm up, but the more I see him, I'm like, yeah, these guys have big steel plates. They have metal working, right? They can bash them together, and their frames are so strong they can just carry these massive plates around. They don't need chainmail for their soft, weak little human flesh underneath that gets hurt or scratched. No, they just bang together metal plates and climb inside and call it a day to go crush some Eds. Because these are orcs. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear that. I will say this. If you've seen any of the rules leak, and they're kind of hard to read here, the rules are just like turned up to 11. We had talked about wanting.
Yeah, he's a beater.
We had talked about wanting the destruction to really be the grinder, just chew things up. And this and the Maw Crusher are just over the top. Like every time this dude kills somebody with a hero keyword, he adds wounds and attacks to his profile.
Yeah, sweet. That's sweet. I love this dude, and yes, he is an offensive powerhouse. Exactly what I wanted to see. Not too much on the defensive abilities. He has that little bit of healing, but realistically, if you look at that wound add, there's not enough heroes on the board for him to really matter. This guy is like pure O, right?
Yep, and that's what these guys need to be. Except that 3+ save,
which is solid. Sure, it's not bad.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's the same as most of the big characters. Yes, most of the big characters have a 3+ save.
But this is like no-name foot soldier number 7.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Most of the big, a lot of generals have 3+ saves. That's not that weird. And this guy's clearly a general.
The newer general. If you look at the older generals didn't have 3+ saves. Any older on-foot heroes generally were 4+, not 3+.
Gotcha.
Starting with Stormcast forward is when we started getting the 3+.
Gotcha. That could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, I like these dudes. I'm in like Flint. I'm still probably not getting orcs, but I love the yellow. I want to see somebody do these all in red and then claim that they now get to run an extra inch across whenever they run. Because red goes faster. We all know that.
Because red goes faster.
That's right. All right, there we go. So what else have we got this week, Tom?
Well, for me, that was the big news. This week we have the Path to Glory. It leaked out that that promo program was coming back. Do you remember the buy more stuff and get some free stuff program? Yeah. That's coming back, and it's going to start in May, I guess, and maybe go through October. And so they're not sure if the rewards are the same, like free shirt or dice or whatnot, or not. So last time it was like a Zine shirt, I think.
Do I get a Bane Blade at the end of it?
Probably not.
Darn. That was the old program from the 90s. The collect 300 skulls and get the Bane Blade.
No, that would be delightful. And then the one of the big upsets that I saw this week that I thought was just fantastic was that GW is bringing back some of their like last chance to buy models.
I know, right? Yeah, that's right.
So basically, they sent out a notice and said, "Hey, all that stuff sold out real quick, and some people didn't get a chance to buy it. So we've sent an order to the factory. We're going to produce a bunch more of these guys. And on Monday, what is that? The 18th?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Monday the 18th, we're going to come back, and once these sell, they're really going to be gone this time. Like, really, really going to be gone this time. Some people obviously have been a little bit critical of this. Seems like a cash grab, but you know that's to be expected.
You can't make people happy. We want more stuff. Okay, we'll sell you more stuff. Stop trying to get our money.
Exactly.
Yeah, come on, guys.
I will say, like, I waffled too long on Thorgrim. I was thinking about getting one of the new Thor. Like, I have the old cast of Thorgrim, but I was thinking about getting the new, like the old metal one. But I was thinking about getting the new one, and I waffled just a little bit too long and missed it. So I think I'll probably end up picking him up when he, for me at least, when he comes back up on Monday. So, encourage you guys to check it out. If there's any models that you felt like you missed out of the order release, and go check it out and click the email me when this stuff's available.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, to be clear, as all elves are dark qualified, it is the order stuff, not anything Tomb Kings.
The Tomb Kings, right. Yes. Yep. And it's not even all the order stuff. Like, the Trebuchet is still not available anymore. Like, none of the Brett stuff showed back up, so it's mostly the rest of the order stuff that's coming up.
Right.
There is a Pantheon of Chaos Kickstarter that's going on right now. So those of you guys that are fans of the old Chaos models, you should love these models. I think there's about 20 days remaining on the Kickstarter. They've far exceeded their goal. If it's something that you guys are interested in, go check it out. It might be something you might want.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll throw a link down there, because it's really neat. Yep. If you're a fan of like old '90s style Chaos,
yep,
it's the way to be.
Yep. This week, a handful of us kicked off a new Facebook group. The Warhammer YouTubers Facebook group has launched. If you're interested, look it up and just like request an invite or message like me or Mitch or any of the multitude of YouTubers, and we'll make sure that you guys get an invite.
Yes, should be very fun. It's about time we joined 2007. So there you go.
Facebook. Absolutely. And then finally, I just had one more news item. News is going to go quick today. Tabletop World, and this is obviously appropriate for what we're talking about today. Tabletop World is a fantastic terrain manufacturer. William Page has picked up and painted a bunch of their stuff, if you guys follow the PMP at all. And so you can go check out some of their terrain that he's painted. But right now, through I think the next 2 weeks, like the rest of this week and next week, they are offering free shipping worldwide. And that's like nicely cast resin. So it's really heavy, especially if you're doing international shipping. And they're over in the across the pond on the continent. And so right now, if you've been looking at any of their stuff, now's the time to buy, because normally it increases their cost by almost like 10 to 20% because of how heavy shipping is. So if it's something that interests you, I encourage you guys checking it out. So that's Tabletop World, and we'll include a link to that below.
There you go. Quick answer to a question that got asked. Paul Conti said, does this new group mean Vince will actually go on Facebook now and then? No, only during the 10 minutes a day that has been previously mentioned. So there you go. Okay. All right, let's get right into our pick of the week. And so in this segment, we talk about some items or an article, a video, something we watched or saw that we want to direct you to. So Mel, I'm coming over to you, buddy. What do you got? What would you like to turn our viewers onto besides your Patreon, which I will buff for you? If you're not supporting Mel on Patreon yet, what are you doing? Get over there, get to his channel, give him a sub, support this guy on Patreon. All right, there. You're much too humble to probably do that. I'm going to spruik it for you. Okay, go ahead, Mel.
Well, that's quite ironic because I mean I wanted to shout out a different YouTube terrain builder. Now I've been ill for the past week or two, and so my sort of pick of the week comes from when I was sort of online more. Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and I need to share screen.
Yep, right up top. I'll lock on you.
Yeah.
And on your left, you got a little green arrow.
Yeah, got it. That one. Share screen. Right, and we should be going through the crazy. Now, can you tell me, do you see a big table with terrain?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Now, obviously, we were just talking about Tabletop World. Yeah. Now, this is all Tabletop World stuff. Yeah, all their resin that's been painted up. But I'd like to draw your attention to what it's sitting on, which is the table. Now, I know this article got knocked around all over the place. Yeah, and it's been seen on Beast 4 and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we talked about it on here when it popped up.
What wasn't highly mentioned, and I think it's a big shame, is that this table, it was actually made by Mike at Terranscapes. Yeah, so the river layout, just trying to find a good one of the ocean, because obviously we've got all the Tabletop World.
The harbor. Some of the late photos was the harbor.
Yeah, let's see, there we are. So this was his recent ocean project, and there's the massive hill he did there.
Oh wow. Yep.
So you can just see little corner bits, but you know this was my sort of, if I'm going to raise awareness about anything, yeah, as tables go, this is beautiful. You know, it was all round. You know, it was an article that went all round, and like I say, Mike didn't really get the credit he deserved for it on the article, so I wanted to give him a shout out. So there you go, guys. That's mine. If you go over to Tabletop World on Facebook, yeah, the article's on there if you haven't seen it. And remember, Mike's channel is Terranscapes. Yeah, just type Terran into into YouTube, and you'll find it pretty easily. Yeah, so there you are. That's mine.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was a fantastic piece. Like it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's stunning. That harbor, the water effects, the waves, just like everything about that it's just mind blowing. Like,
masterful.
We were chatting as he was doing the project, and when he finished the waves and they were all done, he put a final coat on it to seal it, and the coat bubbled. Yeah, so he spent how long did he spend? I think he spent 15 hours dremeling all the waves off to start again, and put another 200 hours into them.
Holy God.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Kudos to him for not committing suicide, because I would have probably just killed myself. Like, I mean, in all seriousness, I'm not sure I could survive that. Jesus.
16 ocean boards crackling overnight. I spent 6 months on. Can you imagine? Oh, it destroyed me. But no, he did it, and he sorted it, and it looks beautiful. So yeah, that's my shout. It's for Mike at Terranscapes.
Wow.
Yeah, so he has Patreon as well, and he does deserve your support. So check him out as well. But you see, I don't mind shouting other people's patrons out.
That's how it works. It's all good. Now that I know that story, like that hurts my brain to even think about. Wow, my respect for that has just doubled. Like, I'm not even joking, because to be able to persevere, sure, to be able to persevere through that is just, I mean, that's just amazing. Yeah, wow.
It's your job, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's what Mike does. You know, and with a project like that, you have to finish it. Otherwise, you don't get paid and you don't get another job.
Yeah, it's true.
You know,
it's true.
You know, it's the challenges of being a terrain builder.
It's a hard knock life. I'm not even gonna joke, because that would be, emotionally crushing. All right. Well, big ups to Mike. That is, boy, I'll tell you what. Yes, he clearly deserves our deep respect, no doubt. All right, Tommy. What about you? What do you got for pick of the week this week?
So this week, it popped up on Warhammer World, and they're working on a new display, and they're in kind of the initial planning stages of the diorama. Now, what I didn't understand, and so, like, obviously with the terrain show, I thought this would be a neat share for us, and this is kind of shows their project kind of in process. Clearly, it's not going to be to scale, I don't think.
Well, it's a 4x2, isn't it?
Yeah, like because it doesn't like you can see the inch scale down on the cutting mat. So, like those
Well, you can see
tower.
the Dracoth riders over on the side.
Yeah, you can see the dread. Yeah, so clearly that's not going to be like unless those aren't like supposed to be the dread forts or something. So, anyways, so it was just a neat like. So I don't know what they're doing with it, but it was just maybe this was a mock-up for what it's going to be at the end or something. Like this is a mini like mock-up for the actual like what the table's actually going to be. I don't
Huh.
know, but this was their because it had a bunch of like sketches initially, and so they
No,
said that.
I don't think it's a mock-up because if you look down towards the bottom end of the table, they've started to put gravel onto it. Now,
Yeah.
why would you put gravel into the mix?
No, that's a
Right.
good
It's
call.
not on a mock-up.
What are
It
the red and blue poker chips?
marking something probably.
They could be placeholders for later models to be dropped in on stands. So,
Yeah.
you have like a cocktail stick sticking out at the bottom of the model, so you don't have to glue it to the actual diorama. You can take it off later so you don't damage the model. Yeah.
That's
So
a good call.
yeah, more than likely the cocktail sticks are probably covered in something like Vaseline, so nothing will stick to them. Yeah, and then once the terrain project's built, just simply pull them out, leaving a nice clean hole. Yeah, with your peg markings. It wouldn't surprise me if the different colours don't signify what you call it, different types of troops.
Hmm.
Because if you look right at the back at the centre, yeah, there's a green one, and there's only one green one. It's on a prominent place centrally on the board, which would suggest some sort of command model.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
But that said, like that is clearly like those paper towers look like the new dreads, like the dread keep stuff.
They're the wrong scale, which
They're
makes
way off scale wise. Yeah. Like so, is
so.
this going to be small? Like, is this like a 15 mil board?
Look at the height of those what you call it, the towers.
Yeah.
Look at the gantries. Do you know what? This could actually be an epic piece. It could be what you call it, 6 mil.
Wow. So, what models are they going to use for that if it is a 6 mil?
Da- da.
A new specialist games models that we don't know about yet that's got 6 mil. It's the return of War Master. Yes, we've all been waiting.
Done.
That's pretty awesome. Wow, it raises more questions than it answers, but I love it. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
In fact, what's the
Yeah.
model to the left of it?
Say what?
So the model over on the left are the new Dracoth riders.
Right, would they fit? No, they're going to be too big, aren't they?
Oh, they're going to be way too big.
Yeah,
But-
and the thing that's funny about it is those Dracoth riders, look at their base. It looks like they're painted, but the base is still the bare black plastic, right?
Yeah.
Which tells me they're not going to be on their base. Like, they're going to be pulled off and put on something else.
Or
So-
textured in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it can't be on that board. Like they're not going on that board, right?
No, there's no placeholder for them on that board, and they're too big. Right. I'll be honest with you, yeah. From a terrain point of view, looking at that, yeah, I'd be thinking they're coming up with something small scale, something epic, or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it could easily be. I mean, if they specifically said what game system this is for, or what IP, is it for Warhammer or 40K, or do we know?
They didn't say, but I mean, here's the deal. Like this is that is the Age of Sigmar. Those are the dread, the blight, the new keeps. Like through and through, those are the new keeps. Those
Yeah.
placeholders. And you can see like the green styrofoam, those are the walls to that keep. Because if you've seen the actual like the full scale of the new Hellfort, like the Dreadfort, like the Hellfort stuff, like that's how all the walls are that wedge shape, and so you can like place them either way to either make curved or straight surfaces. So like those green wedges are very clearly the Hellfort wall, or not the Hellfort, the Dreadhold walls.
Do you know what? To me, it looks like it's a substructure, and they're either going to sculpt or do 3D panels at a different scale to dress it, rather than making completely new small-scale models.
Hmm.
But we won't know until they do it, will we?
That's
Yeah.
right. Exactly. No, that's super cool. Good insight. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So my pick of the week, I actually want to direct our viewers to a video that Paul Conti made recently that I thought was really interesting, and it was about multi-basing in Age of Sigmar, and it was about the idea of if you're like me and like Paul clearly, you hate moving around individual figs, especially the idea of like using a block of 50 and moving individual people is a nightmare to you. Now this isn't a problem for everybody. If you had a long history of 40k, maybe this doesn't bother you as much, but for me, nah, pass. But he had the idea of having multiple people together on a single base, and like 3 or 4 people on a base, right? And then you can kind of move. So a single guy becomes a monstrous infantry level of moving around. And what I had mentioned to him in his comment was, if you magnetize him to that, you could do a scenic base, magnetize 4 guys onto the top, then you could even pull them off. But then when you're actually just scooting them around the table, you can still move them, but pick them off if you need to pile in weird ways. It doesn't carry the same problems that keeping guys on a big movement trade does, where it's just useless after turn 1, because these guys are still small and can chunk up and get in formation. And I think it was a really good idea, and that could open up some really neat sort of possibilities for modeling and working cooler terrain into your actual models, right? Because you know me, I'm always looking for more base space to put more crap on. I mean, that's bottom line. So there you go. That's where all my terrain goes, by the way, Mel. Most of my terrain ends up on my bases. I've said that like my goal is to have it so if my army's on the battlefield and the battlefield's empty, it looks like the battlefield is full of terrain.
Starting to sound like Kings of War now, mate.
Hey, I'm not against the concept. I'm just like as many towers and broken walls and trees and everything else I can stick onto bases. I've got them. Any flying model I have, they just come bringing an entire board worth of terrain with them when I've got flying models.
Yeah,
all right.
It's like his Bretonian like peg knights are all like on the top of like pillars, like Corinthian pillars, and so like when they come flying in, they just bring this like partial temple come zeroing in.
Well, this is broken walls, trees, pillars. Yeah.
It's like the old wood elf rule where you got a wood with your army that you could put in your deployment zone. And you could be playing on a desert table, or a frozen table, with this deciduous wood slap bang in the middle of your deployment zone with a load of archers hidden in it and the spellcaster.
Exactly, yeah. It's just like lava field, we bring the temple. Ice field, we bring the temple. It's not like we just showed up with it. We pack it up. It's like we're like Roman legionnaires. We're really good engineers, okay? It's fine. All right, so I'll put the links for that stuff down below. Do go check that out. Totally awesome. Love it. All right, so let's talk about hobby time. Mel, you're just getting better. You said you'd been sick for a little while. What's on the table, man? What are you working on?
Right, I've just finished a big frozen table, and I am finishing off a big D-Day table for War Games store up in Southport. Yeah, it's a big D-Day table for the game Bolt Action. So that's a beast. That needs finishing off in the next week or so. And then I've got to do an art board. Yeah, a board for Noah's Ark for a friend of mine for his Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, he asked me to do it. So, I can do that for you, mate. And other than that,
is it just a display board?
Yeah,
for a game. Okay.
Do you know what? That could be the first bit of terrain I actually do get to play on, which would be quite ironic. But no, I mean, my main project I want to get stuck in, once I've got these little jobs out, well, not little jobs, but jobs out of the way, is my Burma stuff, my Burma jungle board. Because it sort of got started, it's halfway through, and I really need to kick myself up the backside and get it finished. Other than that, I have Chindits, because I don't play Warhammer anymore. I used to. I got into Warhammer back when I was 15, 3rd edition. Yeah, and I discovered the Skeleton Army box where you could get 40 skeletons for £10. Yeah, and so I had a big undead army, with comical Nagash in it.
Oh yes, old clown face Nagash.
Oh, yes. Clown face. He's still around somewhere. He's on shelf somewhere. Big old clown face. I love the. You know the backstory behind that, don't you?
I do not. Please, I would love to know the backstory behind clown face Nagash.
Oh, well, the sculptor put together the models, and GW really liked it, but they didn't like the face that he'd done for it. Yeah, So he went away and sculpted the most stupid clown face he could sculpt. Yeah, as a sort of well, if you want me to redo it, I'll redo it. He took it back to the team who was at the approval stage, and they accepted it. And that's why Nagash we're having a comedy Nagash, because it was like, all right,
Wow.
if you want a name attached to this model, we'll put it out.
That's fantastic. So he modeled a joke face, and then they were like, "Yep, looks good."
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It was the hat that got me.
Yes.
I mean, I could deal with the nose, but the hat was just something else.
And if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, you can see MC1 Gamer's collection. If you, because he has one of his old clown Nagashes that he has built into. He turned it into just a statue, right? But for the rest of us who might not know, here we go. Well, let me share up here real quick. Thanks to the miracle of the internet. There you go. There's old clown face himself.
There he is.
That is the Lord of the Undead, the most powerful necromancer who has ever lived.
And he is so funny.
Like that hat, you're absolutely right. What is going on there?
Mate, I'll tell you what, that hat, it's just brutal.
I can just imagine being in that meeting and just the tenseness of like, he's like, oh, you want a new face? Here's a face. And they're like, there's just silence in the room as they stare at him, and they're like, okay.
We love it.
We accept.
Oh, that's good stuff. All right. Tom, what are you working on?
I'm just doing a little bit of dwarf highlighting. And then I think I talked about doing my forest goblins next, but I am actually leaning towards potentially potentially doing terrain instead.
And this is well timed.
It is well timed, and just focusing on my mountain of gray terrain that needs to be painted.
Yeah, get stuck in, man. Get stuck in. Get it done.
Yep.
Yeah, look at Mel. He's got like 5 projects he's working on. This is like, come on, man. Get into it.
Yep, totally.
I've actually
Exactly.
probably got about 9.
That's awesome.
For me, myself, I am working on, I'm putting together a competition piece. So I'm not going to show the actual fig, but I'll show you part of the base. So when it comes to terrain, there you go. That's how I do my terrain.
Is that a cavern?
That's nice.
So the fig will actually obviously sit right in there, right?
Yep.
And then there's a backing that goes on it separately. So
Yeah, that'll be nice, mate.
yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's come out. So we've got a lot more to do. We've got some water effect to lay down in the cracks right in between and stuff like that. But it's supposed to be a very dank, dark cave, which is always tough. It's tough to paint really dark because you don't get to use any colors. So like everything has to be hyper muted.
Yeah, it's about getting your base tones right and getting the greens in there for dank and dark.
Yeah.
It's the subtle hint. I mean, terrain is challenging. And the reason why everyone struggles with terrain is because, as human beings, we're naturally developed to spot when things don't look right in terrain, because that's that survival instinct. Is there a predator hiding in that bush? Does that bush look normal? It's why the army goes to great lengths to camouflage its vehicles and make things blend in with with the background. And so when you're doing terrain, you can really struggle because it can take just a little thing to destroy that illusion.
Yep.
Just that one step in the hill, especially when you're trying to do top-end terrain. I know a lot of the terrain builders really struggle with things that they don't see at the time, then look back and go, damn, But,
no, it's a great point because you're right. There's with the terrain, since you're modeling something that's in the real world, right? It's not some completely imaginary fantasy thing. People have a subconscious set of expectations, right, and anchoring as to what's going to be there. And even if they're not consciously aware of like, oh, this thing is out of place, they kind of look and they just sense it, right? And there's just their brain starts like tickling them and saying, wait a minute,
not quite right.
Yep. No, that's interesting. Exactly. Well, that tells me that we need to get right into the future segment, but I want to hit some questions first here real quick, and they're all at you, Mel, so here we go.
Okay.
All right, so Dieter asks, in Brussels, there are golden statues of saints that you can rub for good fortune. Where is Mel's statue that we can rub for terrain inspiration?
What are you rubbing? Are these statues dressed?
One would hope, but I mean, who knows? I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. My answer would be you rub your mouse and get your way over to the Terrain Tutor's YouTube channel and look at the copious number of videos he has, and you rub that for inspiration. That's my answer to you, Dieter.
My answer in this situation would actually be head over to Facebook and do a search for the Terrain Tutors Terrainiacs. Yeah, it's a terrain building group. Yeah, it's strictly non-commercial. I don't post videos there. No one does. It's just hobbyists posting what they're doing, and there is such a wide variety of different genres, and not just that, different levels. Yeah, there's so much inspiration in there. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's my answer.
That's a beautiful answer, and I'm actually writing that down. Like, not a joke. I'm literally making a note right now because I want to do that. All right, hold on. Terrainiacs, right?
Yeah, Terrainiacs.
Which I love the name. That's great.
Let's be honest, Vince. The only reason why you're writing this down is because you need to do better bases for competition pieces.
Look, that's true, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. Inspiration comes from everywhere, Tom. Don't hate. Participate. Okay. Let's see. So Andrew Wade asked the question, and this should be a fun one. All right, for you, Mel. Do you consider yourself an artist, and is your terrain art?
No, I consider myself an artisan. That's thrown you. Right, okay. An artist will create something for aesthetic appeal. That is the definition. They'll create something for you to look at and evoke feelings and that sort of stuff. Yeah, an artisan is a craftsman who produces functional items to a level that they have aesthetic appeal. Yeah, so I produce terrain, yeah, which is essentially a functional item. Yeah, what I will say is creating a diorama is art. Yeah, because the sole purpose of that is to look good. The actual artistic discipline is called miniscaping. Yeah, and if you want to see some truly amazing stuff, go look at miniscaping.com. Yeah, it makes all those YouTube terrain builders cry.
And for our viewers, just to be careful when you're Googling miniscaping, make sure that you don't type in manscaping.
Very different group.
Very different group, but no less art.
Yeah. No, so basically, diorama stuff is art, in my opinion, yeah? I am not an artist, I'm an artisan because I make functional items, and essentially terrain is still terrain. It can look damn good, and it can have aesthetic appeal, but it's there for putting models around and playing on.
That is the best definition I have ever heard. You just blew my mind with that incredibly succinct definition and explanation.
I had to work it out one day of whether I was an artist or not, and I went through about 2 weeks of talking to various different artists and terrain builders about what they thought they were and all that sort of stuff. And one of my patrons, Ewan, yeah, he's got a background in fine arts, and he was like, "You're not an artist, you're an artisan. Go look it up." And it was like, yeah, that's me. I'm the old bloke in the shed making the wooden clocks. You know? They're still clocks, but they look beautiful. That's where
very sophisticated. Like, it's a very sophisticated nuance, but it's true.
I love it. Yes, Tom studies language for a lot of his for his like thing in life, and so I knew he'd be a fan of your definition there. So that's good. All right. Dieter mentioned that the 2-foot table, Tom, that you reviewed looks like a work-in-progress base for my new Archaon model. That is not inaccurate. That's about how I would base a single model. That seems correct. All right. We're going to come back to Mickey's question later. Okay. All right. Good. We'll come back to Mickey and Dieter's. We're going to save them because I like them. They're going to get more deeper into it. Okay. So let's get into the actual discussion. And so, Mel, you gave such a good answer to the last one. I have a feeling you'll knock this one out of the park, right? But what is the value of terrain in a war game? I know that's a broad question, but I bet you've got a good answer to it.
The value of terrain in a war game. Well, essentially, anything you bring to the table will enrich it. Yeah, the fact that the reason we spend so many hours painting and converting our models isn't for us. It's to enrich it's to show it off and make the game better for both players. That's why people like to play with painted models. I mean, we all play with unpainted ones occasionally. You know, I've proxied a few. I've had half a Chindit army, you know, base coated simply to play. Yeah. Now, functionally, you know, it enriches the game. Just without taking all aesthetic appeal. It doesn't matter how well it's built or how well it's painted. Having a hill on the table adds tactical variation. Having cover, different types of cover, the more terrain you have, and oh, go lie down, man. Lie down. Go lie down. Sorry.
You're fine. No. I'm dealing with the same world, so it's all good.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah, it comes down to. You see, it's weird because terrain can be made by a shop for people to play on. It can be made by the club's terrain builder, or it can be made by the players. But in all situations, whoever is making that terrain is enriching the game for the players. Yeah. So that's where it sits. That's what it brings to the table. It enriches the game. I mean, why do you drive to Warhammer World to play on those tables? Do you know what I mean? Why do you go to the shop to play on their new feature table? Yeah. Why do we bother painting terrain? Same reason we paint our models, because it looks damn good and it makes the game great.
I love it. And you know, there's two things that I thought was interesting. I don't remember who was talking about it. There was a game designer who I was talking to, and they were talking about how one of the challenges of writing a war game is. Or I watched the thing where they were talking on YouTube. One of the challenges of making a war game is you don't know the level of terrain that your players are going to have. So when you make a game that requires like a terrain-rich environment, right, lots of buildings and stuff like that, you have no guarantee that your people will have access to that or even know how to get at that stuff. And so you can write the best game in the world, but if your players, and they can go by their models, but if they literally can't get enough buildings and gantries and sewer systems or whatever, you know, crazy thing you have, it can be a real barrier to have entry.
Yeah. Yeah, I've spoken to a few games designers, and they say, you know, it's a real challenge, and it's not until a game actually hits things like the tournament circuit where terrain is quite often sketchy. Do you know what I mean? You don't come across flooded tables on the tournament circuit. You come across a few scatter pieces mainly, and that's when they find out whether it breaks the game or not. I mean, from Warhammer's point of view, I mean. You could tell the difference between 40k and Fantasy Battle because, you know, a Fantasy Battle table had the terrain around the edges, 40k had it in the middle, you know, and because of the mechanics of the game. You know, so I can imagine it'd be horrendous, to be perfectly honest, from that point of view, as terrain as a game designer.
Now, where do you stand on... So there's a game that is out there, popular game, and their terrain that has become very in vogue to use are just flat pieces of paper that have like forest written on it, so that way their models can always move exactly correctly, never shift, never slide, you know, because every measurement has to be absolutely exact to, like, you know, the 16th of an inch.
I think in that case it's perfectly fine. Yeah, you know, I'll throw that one out there. It may seem strange. There was a table at Derby World's War Games show, yeah, and it was a cardboard table where all the trees were basically crosses. Yeah, the houses were very simple cardboard houses. The hills were folded cardboard into boxes, essentially, sort of, you know, polygonic boxes, but boxes nonetheless. Yeah, and like I say, any effort that goes into enriching a gaming table and improving the game, yeah, is good. Now, from a terrain building point of view, pieces of paper, you know, it would have no interest for me because, you know, it's not really terrain. Yeah, it's essentially a simple map. Yeah, but it's what
Right.
they need to enrich their game, to get the features down so they can play their game. Now, if normal terrain would get in the way of those models and ruin the game, then get rid of normal terrain and go with the paper and enjoy yourself.
I love it. That's such a good attitude. It's fantastic. All right. So and that's good because I'm gonna segue right into the next question. So the next
Okay.
question is, what game I know, as you said, you started a while ago, so you've seen your share of war games, and you've made terrain for more war games than I have played or know exist. I'm guessing. So I'm not guessing. I know that to be true. So here's my question: what game do you think best utilizes terrain in your experience? Like makes the most fun use of it. It's not just something there, but it actually integrates it into the experience the best.
I'll tell you, I'll throw a couple out. Yeah.
Okay.
The City Fight rules, the original City Fight rules for 40k. Yeah, they were written very specifically with terrain and making terrain great. I remember picking up the codex and building a City Fight table off the back of it because, you know, I wanted to play on that terrain and it worked so well. But action works very well with terrain as well because it's very line of sight, very get down, very organic. Look, a lot of skirmish games. I'm not sure about Malifaux. I don't know much about the mechanics of how you interact with buildings in Malifaux. Yeah, modern sort of. I mean, fantasy battle was always a bit. You know, you're either on top of a hill, in a wood, or in a building. Yeah, it was very. What's the term I'm looking for? Not vague. Very abstract.
Yes, there you go. Exactly.
With
I was
regards
going to
to-
say dodgy, but sure, abstract is good.
Well, it was, that it was a rank and file system, you know, trying to work in a scatter method. So, you know, it was very abstract, and that's how they got it to work. 40k was a bit better until it went sort of real line of sight and that sort of stuff, and then it was very much, you know, what's in the way and what isn't. You know, you didn't really interact with the terrain beyond that. A lot of the skirmish games are good. I'll tell you one I am interested in, yeah, but I haven't got a firm answer, which is Gates of Antares from Warlord.
Yep.
Yeah, because when I asked Rick a load of questions about it, and he told me that, you know, they did a little video on it on the questions, and they went through and explained that terrain had factored heavily into the game development. Yeah, but the thing is, I haven't actually seen the rules. So all I've got is the fact that they've said until I actually see the rules and I can, you know, I actually understand it myself, I can't actually make it, you know, I can't say, yeah, this does. But from what I've been told, Gates of Antares really interacts with terrain, you know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. You know what I mean? I'll be interested to see how much it does.
Absolutely.
But, you know, what I would say is, you know, looking at the games that do interact well with terrain, they always seem to be the popular ones.
It's a good point. You know, I think of like I think in my mind. By the way, All Elves Are Dark gives a vote for Mordheim, which I did always love. I did always love Mordheim. Yeah, jumping around buildings and over gaps and falling and stuff like that, always hilarious. Trying to climb up high walls, and Infinity, I think, is a newer, you know, sci-fi game that I think.
Yeah,
I
another
really
situation. I've never read the Infinity rules, so I don't know. But I do know that Corpus Val, they've developed the terrain along with a lot of manufacturers, along with the game system. So it would suggest that, you know, terrain has been integral in the design of the game. But like I said, another situation where until I see the rules, you don't know, do you?
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things where the rules really speak to it because, like, it's very not to deep dive on Infinity because who cares, but like in very simple terms, if you're out in the open and you move around, you get shot. That's like, it's that simple, right? So like if you want to, when you're moving up to go attack, you have to be like, you know, sort of moving from cover to cover to cover, like in a very careful pattern with your force. It really encouraged people to like try to get up on high points to get, you know, an unusual line of sight and bring people into vision, you know, that kind of thing. So it's pretty fun. It's one of my favorite aspects of it. All right. Okay, so here we go. I know, Tom, you're also a fan of Mordheim. Did I miss anything that that you would pick out?
I mean, Mordheim is my pick by far. Like, to me, that game it is not it's not playable without an exhaustive
Yeah.
suite of terrain.
Yep. Agreed. All right. So next question. Mel, we're going to start with you, but we can each give an answer to this one. And I already know what Tom's is. I should just go first and steal it, but I'm not going to. Okay, so Mel, favorite terrain kit that somebody has produced, right? Like a model, right? A factory model terrain kit.
Right. What's the kit called? It's something like the Pipes and Ducting Cylinders kit from Pegasus Hobbies. Now, I'm not sure if Pegasus make it or they license it, but they've been around for donkey's ages. Yeah, and there was a range of sort of like hexagon, sort of clipped together sci-fi panels. Yeah, very cheap soft plastic. But one of the kits they produced was a duct piping one, and it has all the pipes, all the valves, all the bits that you need when you're doing piping.
Nice.
Yeah? Now, when it comes to every other terrain kit, pretty much every other terrain kit out there, if I was perfectly honest and I had the time, I could build. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. You're like, you could just do it on your own rather than buy it.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you could buy a house, you could buy a hill, you could buy a castle. Yeah, but as terrain kits go, it was just one of those ones that you could buy that and then just add it to so much. You want an oil refinery? That's how you make it real, because it's those little details that are the challenge when it comes to making terrain. Not the big stuff. You know, we can all get a can of beans and turn it into a big, refinery cylinder container thing. You know, it's a couple of strips of cardboard. Yeah, but getting the valve and the pipes that come out of it, the challenge. So I always loved that kit. So yeah, that's my vote.
I like it. Tom, what about you, sir? What's your favorite produced kit?
Well, obviously, this is going to be you guys. Most of you guys that watch the show are going to know this. I'm trying to pull up an image of it.
Is it the one sitting in the background of you right now?
Yeah, you can actually see it right there.
Yeah. It's kind of covered by your light, the observatory, but it's the the observatory mansion thing, right?
Yes, it's Skullvein Manse. It was a set, and this, like, to put this in perspective, this is actually what drew me into Warhammer, like tabletop. This terrain piece was like, when it retailed, it was like $70 from GW approximately. And this is not a small terrain kit. Like, this is a fairly, like, that thing probably sits 24 inches, 20 to 24 inches high. And it's just a beautifully detailed kit. And, like, this is actually, it was designed by the GW folks from some of the art studio at Mythic for the Warhammer Online game drew this piece of terrain for their art stuff for the video game, and GW liked it so much that they then produced an actual model of it. And so, like, I loved Warhammer Online, and so, like, and I was familiar with this terrain, and then to see it on the tabletop, I was like, I just have to have this. And so I didn't play Warhammer at all. I played a little bit of Mordheim here and there. And I bought this, and then it was like soon after I bought this, then I ended up buying like a bunch of armies, and now I'm underwater and gray models. So there you go.
All right.
Here, very quickly, yeah, I will share just this Pegasus Hobbies one so people can see it.
Yeah.
Please do.
Here, this is the kit I was talking about, the chemical plant.
Oh, that's sweet.
Oh, yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, but basically, it's just all these components. So you can see why, from a terrain building point of view, you know, grabbing a few tin cans and a couple of bases and this kit, you can have a whole lot of fun.
That's pretty awesome. I like that. I've got to give my vote for you know, like, there's a lot that are out there, but if I'm going to give my vote to the one that I've used more than any other. Okay?
Oh, I know what this one is. That would have been my number 2 pick.
Okay, I don't know if you know what I'm going to pick. We're echoing a little on you, by the way, Mel, so I don't even know.
It's, dude, perfectly fine, mate. You crack on.
Okay. So the old fortress. All right.
Yeah.
Like the GW Fortress?
Yes, the old GW fortress, like the big fortress that had the walls and the gate
The
tower
mighty
and stuff like
fortress.
that. Yes. I loved that thing, and the reality is, when I first started playing Warhammer back in the '90s, I thought like it came out. I think came out not too long after that. I thought that was the coolest thing ever because we could do siege games, and like I didn't know anything about building terrain or how to do that stuff right. So for me, it was very inspiring because all we had done up to that point was put two armies down and smash them into each other, right? But then all of a sudden we had this big fortress kit, and we were like, oh my god, we can do a totally different game. And I've continued to use those walls and those sections in games of Mordheim and on the tabletop for almost 20 years.
Yeah, I remember when they brought out the Warhammer Siege rulebook to go with it.
Yep.
It's funny, Vince, you said the terrain that you've used more than anything else, and I interpreted that differently. I thought you were going to say the Garden of Moor, because you've used that terrain to base half of your forces over the last year and a half.
Well, that's true, but no, not what like actual play as terrain, not as basing material.
Yes. And Garden of Moor gets an honorable mention for me, because it's just a fantastic terrain set. Like, I've painted through, like, basically 2 full sets of it, and it's just a beautiful set.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to go next. So, all right, Mel, favorite terrain piece you've made? This has got to be tough. This is like picking your favorite kid, I'm sure. What's your favorite one you've made?
Do you know what? I did a Greenfield set about 2 years ago, and it was just simple set, corkbark hills and trees and stuff like that. Yeah, and it wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't the big castle for Sega. It wasn't a D-Day board or anything massive. It was just a couple of little sets of hills. Yeah, and it was just a quick commission for a follower. And then about 6 months after I'd done it, I was going along Facebook. Yeah, and I saw these hills. I saw a battle report. Yeah, and I saw this sort of shot from behind a tiger tank. Yeah, and this hill, and I looked at this hill, and it was like, that's beautiful work. And it was like, that's my work. And then I suddenly recognised the hill as mine. And it was like, I'd actually, I'd set out openly. And I am an awful critic of my own work. I hate my own work. I'm never happy with it. Yeah, always see the imperfections. But literally said out loud, they're beautiful. Yeah, and it was like, they're mine. They're mine. Yeah, so yeah, when it comes down to my favourite terrain, it's got to be those little corkbark hills. Yeah, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
All right, Tom, I don't know if you've really made much. Do you have a favorite? Do you have anything you've made?
No. I mean, I've painted up a number of pieces of terrain, but I've done a lot of elaborate, I made a little swampy, but like a little temporary thing. But it was just like more of a tile flat. I mean, it wasn't elaborate. I used the Reaper, not the Reaper, the Vallejo Dark Earth, and just kind of, again, it was just kind of a swampy mud hole. And I kind of enjoyed that. That was fun. But I've done a lot more painting than anything else.
Gotcha. All right, so Mel, I've got a surprise for you. I muted you, by the way, because it was echoing so hard out to I could hear it back. So you may want to turn down your sound or something like that, but you'll have to unmute yourself when you talk. Because I can't unmute you. Somehow I magically have the power to mute people, but not unmute people.
Hey,
Isn't
I
that
can.
fun?
I'd say, Vince, I can show my favorite one that I painted, if you'd like that.
Sure. Show your favorite one you've painted.
To lead into your piece.
Sure. Yes, I'm about to blow people's minds. Oh, there we go. All gone. Perfect, Mel. Thank you.
So this was I did this while we were playing D&D. I should not have been painting, but I was, because I'm a terrible friend. And it just it ended up coming out really nice with the weathering along the steps and stuff like that. I think I have another one of these photos around here. Yeah. And it was just a real subtle, like it was a super basic. There's quite a bit of heavy dry brushing, as you can see. So the contrast is a lot higher than I would normally do, but I don't know. It just ended up coming out nice, so I enjoyed it.
Nice, it's lovely, mate.
Thanks.
Is it? Did you make that, or is that a bought
No.
piece that you've watched? It's a cast, is it?
This is actually the Reaper. So if you've seen Vince's big Archeon,
Yeah.
it's like on a frozen round, and those steps to the right that you can see in that photo right here, this is what he's mounted on, and this is the Reaper bones, like the really soft like PV, like the super soft like rubber plasticky stuff. But it doesn't look that way when you look at the texture. It actually looks like it's a stone texture, not a
It looks great.
super soft plastic. And I actually pinned the top of that the circle staircase on the left is actually pinned, so I can pull that roof off of the base below it. So yeah.
Very nice, mate. Very nice indeed.
All right, now for something not nice. Here we go.
I wanted to lead into Vince's piece.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
So here we go. So here's my board. This is from our most recent game. Here we go. Oops. So as we can see here, look at this amazing terrain. We've got the tower over in the corner with a couple little birdies on it from the Warhammer Fortress set. There it is, still in use. My super sweet buildings I've got here. That you may recognize that as some cardboard boxes that I cut up and then used like the shish kebab sticks to like stick through to give it to hold the floors in place, right? So there's just like shish kebab sticks running down here.
Bamboo skewers.
Yeah, bamboo skewers. Thank you. And yeah, I made the little house, and this one, it's a nice roll of paper towels with some stairs going around. This is some high quality work. We got the old Mordheim building hanging out here, and hills from 1992. That's what's important. Yes.
Yeah, you use concrete spray on the
concrete spray on them. Yes, here you go. Look at that texturing. It's amazing.
Dead easy. Love it, mate. Absolutely love it. Question: does it enrich your game?
It does, absolutely, because we when we play these games. Here's the best part about it. I'll be completely honest. I've had people just accidentally knock these off the table and smash them or something. Not purposefully, angrily, right?
Yeah.
Just life happens, right? And so they'll kind of knock it off the table or it'll fall, and I'm like, meh, who cares? It's fine. Doesn't matter.
As long as it enriches your game, mate, it's all good. All good.
Go. Yes,
but you need to take it to the next step now, don't you, sir?
I do. You've got it exactly. That's why we're here. We're going up to the next level. All right. Stop sharing there. Come back here. Okay. High tech. That's what that is. All right. So now we're going to get into the advice section, Mel. So this is really you. This is you. We're gonna just squeeze knowledge from your head. So get ready. You may have a headache after this.
God help you.
All right. What is the #1 terrain tip you would share with people wanting to start making terrain? People like me. I want to make some stuff. What's your #1 tip
Start
that you want
small.
to share with people?
Make scatter pieces. Never build a set at first. I mean, you've got on there, you've got a load of buildings, you've got a load of hills. You've done those at the same time. It was a relatively big project. Yeah, if you go down into that project and it messes up or something goes wrong, yeah, that's a lot of work for you to get something you're not happy with. Yeah, so when you start, get some CDs, turn them up, glue some trees to them, throw some filler and some grit on them, get a bit of foam board or a bit of cardboard, have a play with that, but make scatter pieces. Yeah, because that way, if you have a real mess up and everything warps, then it's only one little piece. You've not ruined a set. Yeah, if you want to try something out, yeah, I mean, when you're new to terrain building, yeah, your ability is 0 because you've never made any before. That's not an insult, that's just a fact. You've never made terrain, so you have no ability to make terrain. So you make terrain, yeah, and what you will find is, yeah, that you will get better through each process. And I'm not talking about set by set, I'm talking through a set. If you start with, say, 3 or 4 hills, If it's the first time you've made terrain, I can guarantee you, yeah, that your last hill will look a hell of a lot better than your first hill, because the amount you've learned through those 4 hills at each various stage, you know, you'll get better at by the time you've done the set, and you'll end up, yeah, with, you know, 1 you really like and 3 that, you know, well, they weren't quite there and quite got it, yeah. So start small. If you plan on doing a 6 foot by 4 foot board, great. Do a 1 foot by 1 foot board that includes all the key elements of that board, and make sure you're happy. Because the last thing you want to do is to, you know, spend 200 hours doing a load of waves, put some varnish down on it, and have to start again. Yeah. So if you're new to terrain, yeah, start small. Start with scatter. Yeah. Not just that, scatter works terrain-wise because we've all got commercial products that fill spaces. Yeah,
no,
you start customizing it with a little bit of scatter that's got the same sort of basing as your army. You know, you start pulling it, then you get your commercial pieces and you start sticking them down on some MDF or some foam board, giving them some edge, tying them in with some trees. Yeah, and it just rolls. And the next thing you know, yeah, you've got a shed full of polystyrene, 2 studios, 2 sheds, and a wife that wants a divorce. I haven't got to the last stage yet, but I'm getting there.
And I love the idea of the CD as like being the sort of base size to work from, because I'm not gonna lie, I have used the CDs, DVDs as bases before, like on miniatures, like when I'm doing a big monster.
Great,
yeah,
CDs are great because first off, you don't have to worry about anything warping. You don't have to worry about cutting MDF or buying massive boards and getting jigsaws out and sanders. Yeah, you can just buy a pack of 10, what you call it, you know, CDs, or get the old ones that you don't listen to anymore because we're all digital now. You know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the amount of terrain I've got on old kiddies DVDs. You know what it's like if you've had kids.
Yeah, I don't have kids, but I have plenty of old CDs, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, especially with kids, you pick up 1-pounders, 50p's at the car boots, anything so they've got something new to watch because you've fed up of seeing that one DVD over and over and over again. Yeah, so I've got a ton of them. That, you know, the kid, you know, when Corbin and Willow were like 2 and 3, they scratched and they're knackered. You know, we're never going to watch, you know, Horrid Henry or any of those sort of programs again. Turn them upside down, stick a bit of polystyrene onto them, PVA will stick to it. You know, put a bit of filler. You know, get a cup, bit of filler, bit of paint, bit of your basing grit, bit of PVA. Give it a stir till it's a slot. Paste that over. That'll give you some rocks. You can spend an evening and knock out a load of rocks. Paint them the next night, you know, flock them the night after that. Next game, you've got 4 or 5 rock bases, and you've got a handle on doing rocks. So when you want to do a big rock, you're comfortable with the whole process. You've done the lot, you know, and you've done it a couple of times and refined your technique. So start small. Yeah, never do what I did. Yeah, the second piece of terrain I ever made, yeah, was a 4 foot wide hill. Because I've got this thing about making big terrain, yeah, but it was a 4 foot wide hill made out of expanded polystyrene coated with papier-mâché, and it wasn't based. Yeah, I came in, the sides had walked up at least 4 inches off the edge. Yeah, you could spin it on the spot, and this hill would spin round on the table. Yeah, so don't make that mistake. Just start small, refine your techniques, just play with what you want to do so you're comfortable with it. Yeah, and then when you're ready to build your bigger terrain, well, you know what you're doing. You know the materials, you know the techniques. Just get some bigger, put an afternoon aside, and knock out some hills or some woods.
I love it. That is awesome advice. All right.
Now you've got to do it. And viewers, make sure this man has to, within a month's time, yeah, have the CDs and have something to show. I'll be watching. I see busted now.
I solemnly swear I will. We're doing our spring skirmish challenge right now, and I'm not gonna lie. So like we're doing our spring skirmish challenge. Everybody's got 2 months in our PMP community to put together a skirmish force. It's got 10 to 20 figs, a commander, and at least 1 piece of terrain. And I'm not gonna lie. Part of the reason when I set up the challenge with the community that I included the piece of terrain, because I knew that would then force me to do a piece of terrain. So sometimes you just gotta set your rules to make yourself work.
Mate, just get your filler, your paint, your PVA, a bit of grit, and some expanded polystyrene, and a couple of CDs, you know? Or you get a quick heat gun, give the polystyrene a quick blast once it's sort of settled, and that'll give it a nice sort of pointy, jaggedy, smoothie texture. Throw your slop over it, base it up, it'll look brilliant. And then the next thing you know, you'll be there going, I could get a soldering iron, start putting symbols in these and make monoliths and things like that.
I love
And
it.
before you know it, mate, you'll be divorced.
Well, if she's put up with all this, like, oh, there's this, I think at this point she's in for the ride, so it's all right, I guess.
Mate, I was like that until I really got into terrain. Yeah, you forget half of my kitchen is a studio for kitchen. Yeah, and trust me, I have a very, 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 very forgiving and loving wife.
That's a good thing. All right, so I want to turn to the next question is, and I'm really be curious as to the why behind this, because I'm hoping it can help us avoid some pitfalls as we potential terrain makers out there. What's the most difficult terrain piece you ever made, and why? Like, what was the thing about it that you're like, oh, that is, you know, that is a nightmare to try to do this thing?
To be perfectly honest, everything new. Yeah, I'll tell you why. Yeah, and this is where terrain varies from model painting and that sort of stuff. Yeah, when you paint a model and you approach a model, you paint it. Yeah, the skills you use to paint it, okay, are exactly the same skills you'll use to paint the next model. One may be a fantasy model, the next one may be a futuristic model, one may be green, one may be blue, but you will still convert, sculpt, base coat, blend, wash, fine, you know, you'll go through the painting techniques. When you do terrain, there's so much, yeah, that's new, completely new skill sets. Yeah, when I get to, I'll be honest with you, my favorite stage of what you call it, of doing terrain is base coating. Yeah, because I know when I get to the base coating stage on any terrain set I make, I can't mess it up. I know how to base coat, and it's all got to be one color.
Right.
Yeah. Anything between that, and it's new skills. For example, I need to make a really big hill. I need to make a wooden side for it. I've got to do joinery. Yeah, that doesn't come along when you're making polystyrene and CD things. All of a sudden you got a jigsaw or a wood workshop and you're knocking together 2x4s. You know what I mean? Yeah, very much like ocean boards. Right, I've got to do resin. I've got to do water. You know, I've got to do casting. I've got to, you know, and then I've got to learn how to make materials. Yeah, and that's the challenge with terrain. That's the difficult thing. That I can't say that there is one thing that is difficult to do. Everything has its challenges, but terrain is challenging because of the sheer wide array of skill sets you need to do it.
No, yeah. I love it. That's a great answer, and very true. Like it's an interesting difference. I don't want to dismiss painting or anything like that, you know. No. I'm an aspiring painter, you know. I try my best to sculpt, and I truly appreciate the effort that goes into getting fine miniature painting. I mean, it can be difficult to paint terrain to a high standard at times. Painting a model to a high standard is just, you know, and that's why you focus on those skill sets to take them to that level. What you generally find with terrain is everyone has a pretty sort of amateur basic level across a wide, broad range, and then you'll get the guys who specialise in one thing or another. You know, it's fair to say that Mike now specialises in water because he's damn good at it and he's done enough of it that he knows it inside out. He's acquired that skill set. Right.
Yeah.
He's definitely a master of that, given that board. That is
exactly. Sure. You know. And in terrain, there's various themes: water, snow, desert, you know, jungle, realistic vegetation, proper battle damage. Yeah, and these are the sort of skill sets, along with the construction techniques that go with it. But it's just a wide array of different things, you know. I mean, look at it. I mean, we shop at building shops, we shop at, you know, upholstery stores. You know, it's just such a wide array of things that you need to use.
Right, yeah.
Anything new, mate. Anything new.
I love it. That's good. All right. So my final question on the agenda, but then we've got a few few viewer
Okay.
questions, I should say. So here's my final one that I had prepared. What's your favorite tool you use when making terrain? Like, do you have one tool that you're like, oh my God, this has made my life that much better?
The hot wire tools from Hot Wire Foam Factory are really good. Yeah,
Hmm.
you know, having a decent hot wire tool when you're working with polystyrene, you know, compared to using a knife and that sort of stuff, when you're doing bulk of it, is a good tool. Yeah. Uh, but to be perfectly honest, I'm never happier than when I've got, you know, a simple X-Acto blade in my hand. You know, vast majority of terrain building I do, you're either using PVA glue, yeah, a blade, or a brush, and anything else is just fancy.
Gotcha. Now, do you buy your PVA glue by the gallon?
Yes.
Awesome. I had a feeling. I assume you've just got giant jugs of this stuff.
Yeah, with a little pump dispenser.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I buy what you call it. I buy industrial PVA, which is the stuff the PVA you guys are used to, the craft stuff and the stuff that you buy from the hobby stores is watered down PVA. Okay,
Mhm.
PVA, industrial PVA doesn't run when it's poured. It
Huh.
blobs and stays. Yeah, so I use that stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
because it sets like concrete. And I've got a good supplier. You know, ironically, I can buy 5 litres of that cheaper than I can buy a quarter of a litre from a hobby shop.
Hmm.
Wow. That's pretty good. I think I need to look into some of that.
Yeah,
I like more for less. That seems like a good
yeah.
deal. A
Well, it's only
cheapskate
a
like
good deal
me,
if
I'm
you're
all
going to
about it.
use it. Otherwise, you're just wasting space.
Sure. That's a good point. Well, maybe that would force me, right? There you go.
Hmm.
All right, it's
Yeah.
all about more incentive.
Start with a litre, mate. I think a gallon's a bit too much for a budding terrain builder. You know, you might be intimidated, but I think with a litre, you know, you'll feel comfortable with a litre and your CDs.
I like it. All right, I'm with that. Okay. Um, so we got a couple questions from the viewers. So here we go. So Dieter asks, I'm a complete noob on the terrain field, but I'm always puzzled by how to add details to buildings or arcane symbols, skulls, frills, panels, statues, all the little things on like say buildings or stuff like that out in the world that make those things come to life. Is there a good source for that kind of stuff? Basically your
It,
dressings for stuff.
well, I mean, it goes back to my favourite terrain kit, the pipes. The difficult stuff you need to add. You know, that's why it's my favourite terrain kit, because I can't do pipes. Yeah. Uh, there's loads of little bits. First off, if you're doing terrain and you've got a regular bunch of friendly players, reach out to them. We've all got little bits in our bits box that we're never going to use, the odd icon, that sort of stuff. You know, just put a shout out for them. Same time, shout out for what you call it, for scrap paints. Hey, baby. Yeah. Shout out to scrap paints. Scrap paints are the paints that are almost dry and no use for model painting, but you can do terrain with them. So your browns, your greys, that sort of stuff. Yeah, it saves a fortune, yeah, because that'll give you a wide range of good paints you can do for detailing and washes and that sort of stuff. Yeah. Uh, the other little bit is you can go to places like Entity Castings, Antonicity's Workshop, or even what you call it, Shapeways. Yeah, and buy little accessories to attach to your buildings to give them those flourishes. Yeah, essentially it's called terrain garnish. Yeah,
There you
and it's
go.
the little expensive bits that
Sure.
we it very few terrain builders make them. Yeah, because they're so time consuming and so difficult to do properly. Yeah, that it's easy just get into the bits box or get on eBay or find a kit you can savage for a few bits. You know, every Imperial Guard player's got at least 300 barrels and a couple of crates.
That is very true. Everything that came off of, say, the front of your tank, right? When you buy the tank kit, you get all that
Exactly,
extra junk. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. You know, remember, you know, you're doing a battlefield. All those spare doors and weapons, stick them on a base, stick a bit of polystyrene over them, a bit of filler across so they're sticking out. It'll look like battlefield rubble.
Nice. I like it. All right. This one's probably a tricky one, but so Mickey asks, any tips for doing waves in water?
Right, another shout out for Mike. Yeah, Mike's got a video. Go to his channel, do a search for the physics of waves, and he did an entire video on how waves work and how he replicates them. Yeah, the simple fact is, I couldn't even come close to how well he's done that, so I'm not going to even bother. Yeah, it's a really good video. He talks about the mechanics and how it changes depending on how deep the water is and how close to the shore it bends. And then he talks about the modelling of how he does it and gets that with modelling, various modelling materials. So if you're looking for waves, I'd point him in that. The simple fact is, as of yet, until I do my D-Day board, I won't have actually done waves whilst being the terrain tutor.
Well, there you go. More new stuff, so it'll be a good challenge. There you go.
It's another threat, mate. It's another one that I'm sitting back going, I'm going to have to get some CDs and do some test pieces here. In fact, 2 seconds.
All right, go ahead. That's fine. I think that the fun thing to me about the CD idea too is it limits your size and your scope, right? Yeah. You can't go too far. And by the way, I'll make sure to link the Terranscapes. I'll grab that video. I know what video he's talking about. I have watched it. So I'll go grab that, and I'll link that down below, along with everything else Mel's talked about. Or, well, as much as I can remember.
Right. Here we go. As I was saying,
yeah.
All good terrain builders do test pieces. I'm doing the ocean. Bits of MDF. Yeah, airbrushed with various different shades. Yeah, of blue through turquoise up to yellow. Yeah, and I've got a load of them. Yeah, so I can figure it out with the new materials because I'm using Vallejo acrylics and I haven't used them before. Yeah, so they are proof of the pudding. Even Mel the Terrain Tutor, as his little test bit, sits down and tries and figures it out.
I love it. It looks like you built your own paint swatches, right? Like you go to the hardware store, you get the paint swatch for a room. You're building your own paint swatches for your ocean. Yeah.
Well, exactly. The Vallejo acrylics, they're a heavy acrylic gel, but they're translucent, and they're various different shades of blue. Yeah, and so what I need to do is put them over, let them set, and see what they look like. You know, so I can figure out the right colours for the actual baseboard before I actually sculpt the ocean, the waves in. Yeah, but they are, you know, like I say, everyone's learning.
That's
Never
right.
stop learning.
That's something I've harped on like a million times in model painting, is that like you can't ever be like, well, I'm done. No, if you are, then stop doing what you're doing, right? Because there's just no point to continue. There's always more to learn. You can always take another step. You can always get better and push yourself, right?
Unless you're an Imperial Guard player. And I speak as a massive Imperial Guard player with over 200 exactly the same paint. I am incredibly good at painting grey Imperial Guard.
That's pretty funny. I had an IG army for a long time. I ended up selling it off some years ago, but I had it for many years, and I had a Valhalla, so it was all ice themed, right? And I did like it was all blue and gray and stuff like that. Yes. Okay, there you go. Fun stuff. Love ice. I love the different guards. That's the real heroes of the universe. Let's be honest. Okay.
Yeah.
Forget the Space Marines. It's the IG. All right.
Yeah. How about the Imperium?
All right. So then our final question, because I think we've covered all of it. This has been amazingly good advice. Here you go. Final and maybe the most important question is Andrew Wade wants to know what's your dog's name because he's a adorable dog. What is it?
Ozzy.
Ozzy. All right, there you go. The secret's out.
Yeah. You
All
got
right.
food, he'll be there.
I like it. So I think that brings us through everything I wanted to cover. That's a lot of inspiration for people. Mel, any final thoughts before we close up the show here? Anything else you want to share with people out there?
Yeah, just listen. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of gamers watching this, and I know a lot of people don't like doing terrain because it is so new. Yeah? Just do it. I mean, just think about when you were kids and in arts and crafts. You're not putting this stuff online. No one's expecting it from you. If it turns out horrendous, yeah, you can hide it. You don't have to show people. But just sit down one Sunday afternoon and give it a bash, because trust me, once you've done it and realise how easy it is, yeah, you'll start making beautiful tables. You just got to start.
Beautiful advice, and I completely agree. That just do it is the mantra that we live by. Absolutely. Just get in and just crack on and see what you can do. I love it. Tom, any final thoughts?
No. I'm just trying to take it all in. There's just so much to do.
There's a lot. Well, my final thought is, as I mentioned, the Terrain Tutor will be linked below. If you're not already subbed to him, what are you doing with your life? Get over there. Give this guy a sub. He has so many amazing tutorials, and you can deep dive on all the things he's mentioned today. And like I said, don't forget to support Mel on Patreon. We want to see him keep doing all this amazing work and keep instructing all of us how to get better and make better tables and have more immersive experiences. So, Mel, thank you so much for coming on the show today, sir. We are honored. It was an absolute pleasure.
It's been brilliant, mate. It's been lovely chatting. Yeah, I'll have to come back sometime in the future and see your CDs.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. It's coming, buddy. It's coming. This is my solemn promise. You can watch. You got to give me till the end of May. All right, but that's my promise. By the end of May,
right.
I will have it made.
Okay, 2 secs.
I love it. All right, hold me to it.
That'll go in the diary, mate.
Yes.
1st of June, dude. CD day.
I'm down. I'm down. I agree. I love it. I love it. The deadline has been set. Yes, June 1. All right, fantastic. And if anybody else wants to join me in this, by all means, do what Mel says. Just do it. Get that terrain done. Throw them up in the PMP or share them in the YouTubers, or don't. Keep them in your house and treasure them and hold them in a tiny little box, and that's okay too. Just know that you made it. Yeah. All right. For everybody else, thank you so much for watching. We always appreciate it. Mel, thank you again. And to all of you, we'll see you next Wednesday.